doubles and coffee. You see, they had an anti-crime march, Project 600. Some Mr. Issa Mohammed, not the football coach that everybody know, but some gentleman who gets up when citizens join together because they are afraid. They're afraid for their families, they're afraid in their homes, they're afraid to go to malls, they're afraid to go to the grocery, they're afraid to walk down the street. They're afraid because criminals are running this country throughout every nook and cranny. Gun-running criminals, murderers without a heart. Citizens get together to say and to show those in charge, the PNM, the government, that they need some action. This Christmas is bleak because people are living in fear. And some Mr. Man gets up together to do what he calls an apolitical anti-crime march. Now, that starts off with a political stupidity that does not augur well for any solution. Because in our Westminster system, the government, the Prime Minister, first past the post, the cabinet, they control everything. And the leader of the opposition has no power not even to buy a pen or a dinner mint. But that's okay. Once citizens are getting together to show the government that the action needs to be taken, to show Keith Rowley that the games, they are fed up and tired of the games, that the Prime Minister must lead, the Prime Minister is in charge, the Prime Minister sets policy, the Prime Minister is the head of the National Security Council, the Prime Minister chooses the Minister of National Security, the Prime Minister formulates plans, strategies and policy, the Prime Minister controls the resources and can dictate where they are implemented, the Prime Minister can protect the border, protect the ports, the customs, make sure there are scanners, resource the police. This Prime Minister even selects his own commissioner of police, so could actually give orders for the police to do what job he wants when he wants. Ask Brent Thomas. But this Mr. Mohammed gets up during his march and makes his feature address and attacks the UNC and blames the UNC as the opposition as much as the PNM. Now, either he's playing politics, either he's using the tried and tested failure to enter politics by pretending that he is so independent that he could attack either side. But then if that is the position, say so. Because no human being who understands the system that we are in could ever blame any opposition leader for the crime situation or the failure of the government to handle the crime situation. It was none other than Keith Christopher Rowley who said, and I quote, "Any government that blames the opposition when it's failed to deal with the crime situation is part of the problem." That's a quote from Keith Christopher Rowley when he was leader of the opposition. His position at that time also was that he would not help the government in anything. He would isolate the government in whatever form or fashion, whether inside or outside of the parliament, until the government is gone. That was his stated position. Kamla Persad-Bissessa's position is the oblique opposite. She is begging Rowley since September, when his puppet president came to create this discourse that some crime talks are necessary to attack the crime scourge. Kamla Persad-Bissessa, with her diplomatic, mature, patriotic said, "Come on, Keith Rowley, come on, Prime Minister, come and meet. You don't want Gary, come and meet." She gave him ideas. He called her letter voluminous because it had so much policy, so many things to do. Rowley has done nothing. Rowley is traveling all over. Rowley is playing golf while people die. And Mr. Mohammed comes to blame the opposition equally with the PNM. That's disingenuous. That's dishonest. Furthermore, Mr. Mohammed, do you know your Project 600 march for citizens? Do you know not one PNM supporter was in that march? Because they don't march. They would not go against the PNM cult, no matter how bad situations are. PNM supporters do not protest PNM government. So who was there in your march that you boasted, Mr. Mohammed, that you made 3 front pages of the newspapers all over Facebook. You're boasting. So that was the goal, to make 3 front pages. What did you achieve by making 3 front pages? Other than you feel you did something, or you are to get some kudos or to pat yourself on the back. What is achieved by making 3 front pages? You made those 3 front pages because your speech aids and abets the PNM in its failure. So the mass media, which is PNM, will promote you or your speech because they would like to blame the opposition equally as the PNM, which is a fallacious position, an asinine position, an undemocratic position, and a position which keeps the people in pain and fear from criminals and allows Rowley to continue his plan to obfuscate and to not do anything. Rowley has shirked his duty. Rowley has failed. Rowley is continuing to fail. People are dying. He is frozen in paralysis. He cannot act. He has no policy. He has done nothing. And people are dying in their homes and outside of their homes. But you are boasting that you made 3 front pages. Let me tell you, so you know who is the people you're talking to? Let me tell you from a personal point of view first. 18 people messaged me, a UNC senator, douglAR politics, Anil Roberts, and asked me, they heard about this anti-crime march and so on. Should they go? And we want to go because we want to let the government know that this is not on, that we are feeling unsafe, that we need protection. And I told all 18, of course, you go, you show support. Any citizens that are getting up to protect and to make Trinidad and Tobago better, you make your presence felt. Get out there. I know of 6 other UNC MPs who told people similar things. So, Mr. Mohammed, you had people at your march. They were either UNC or independent-minded people, no PNM. And you get up there and you attack the UNC and the leader of the opposition who has no power to do anything. And if you think that its legislation is the only thing to fight crime, then you are clueless. You don't know what the situation is. You have not read, you do not understand what causes criminal activity, what causes the pain, the suffering out there. That it takes a holistic fight from every single ministry, from education, from sport, from culture, yes, national security, border control, helicopters, air guard, coast guard, radar. It takes police service commission, commissioner of police, strategies, judiciary. It takes a lot to fight crime. And if you think that legislation, that we already have thousands and thousands of law, and you think legislation which requires the UNC or the special majorities is needed, why has the PNM not brought legislation? It's 4 months since they're talking about this crime talks. Where the legislation? They have not even called Parliament. They only call in Parliament to deal with money bills or to get more money for themselves and their recusals in the cabinet. So understand this. Your crowd was made up of independent people who may not vote and UNC supporters who support anybody once it is better for Trinidad and Tobago. And you get up there and you wrongfully attack Kamla Prasad-Bissessar and the UNC, apportioning blame when Keith Rowley is in charge. Keith Rowley is the Prime Minister. It's the responsibility of the Prime Minister to keep a country safe, not the responsibility of a leader of the opposition in a Westminster system who has no power to impact anyone or any policy or move resources or implement a strategy. That is a sad position, but I guess you are happy because your project 600, made 3 newspaper front pages. Okay, my brother, God bless. I see your position. But I feel your project 600, next time we'll go to project 6 because you're not making sense. You will not impact anything. You've not understood the problem. You're playing political games and pushing a PNM message. The message is clear. The Prime Minister has failed. The National Security Council has failed. The PNM Cabinet has failed. The PNM government has failed. They've been in power 8 years and crime is the worst ever. End of story. It is Rowley's fault. It is PNM fault. It is Fitzgerald Hines' fault. It is the PNM government's fault. They are responsible. Y'all can't understand that? Stop playing games with crime. Mr. Mohammed, whoever you are, Mr. Project 600 will now be Project 6. Okay? Since you don't want UNC supporters to get out there. Because if Kamala was Prime Minister, they have no crying. They have no baby, help me. Rowley, please help me. Come and talk to me. Kamala would fight and solve the problem. When Kamala was in government, crime was going down. Strategies were being implemented. The Selwyn Ryan report was being implemented across the board. There were vessels with diesel to patrol, radar, helicopter, air guard, police strategy. Commissioner of Police was not interfered with by the Police Service Commission. Resources were going to education, opportunities, sport, culture, and crime was coming down. Crime was coming down under Kamala. So you study your three front page. You make the papers there. Well, you make it first. You make it twice. First and last. Bless.
Good evening and welcome to douglAR Politics. I just went on a tour of Trinidad and Tobago. I left Diego Martin at 6:18, went around, traffic, passed through the Caroni flyover by the bird sanctuary and came straight back home. That took an hour and 14 minutes in this great country under the PNM, where life is just painful at every juncture. Anything you want to do in this country, nothing works. And you all think politics is not a serious thing. So good evening and welcome to douglAR Politics. I could not make it to Marabella to be at Atlantic Studios. So we start from here. Condolences to the family and friends as ex-NAR MP Sanderson dies at the age of 74. Former Faizabad Member of Parliament Arthur Sanderson has died. He was 74. News of his death was announced on Facebook on Monday by his daughter, Kadeen Sanderson. So condolences to his daughter and to his family, a man who served this country well. Well, Fatima win SSFL National Under-13 title, Under-16 glory. Presentation College from South, well done, winning the Intercol, Coca-Cola Intercol Championship. Never mind, it couldn't play in Skinner Park, because Skinner Park could only play under 15 matches because the PNM spent $131 million. And Noel Garcia said it was to change the field because it was east-west and the sun used to go in the eye of the player. Well, Noel Garcia, how sun does go in your eye when most football is played at night now? Only the PNM sun does shine in the night. All they're so stupid. Like somebody was making hay while the sun shine, why your face so twist up, boy? You could lie, you waste $131 million to tell me you turn a World Cup playing field where USA play Trinidad and Tobago, Intercol, big match, Super League, Pro League, First Citizens Cup. Anything could have played there. Now nothing could play there. And you say you do it to keep the sun out the goalkeeper eye? Well, the goalkeepers don't have no sun anymore because all the Pro League match, all the Super League, all the College League, everything playing in the nighttime anyway. So $131 million by Noel Garcia, Rowley boy, to waste time talking about also trying to lie on ball the field is 50 meters. Let me tell you something, College League in the States, University, they just play a semi-final. I watch Clemson beat University of West Virginia 1-0. Them play on a field 120 meters by 76 meters. And a university football. This fool here spend all their taxpayer money and trying to say the sun was in the eye, so all you play on that small field. When you try to take a corner, you can kick the flag and the keeper same time. This dodo head here, Noel Garcia. And on top of that, the same seats that he put in Skinner Park, they in this Hazy Crawford Stadium where Hazy Crawford can't even get in to sit down. When I went there to watch Fatima QRC, I sit down on 5 different seats. The thing like $5 seat. The thing one lean so, the next one lean so, one I sit down and nearly slip off. Good thing my knee good. I had to hold my nuts. I nearly lost my salt because of this cheap idiot here. This Noel Garcia, this Las Alturas, this Rowleyite, who is in charge of spending all your money and building nothing. Nothing he does is of any use. Would I why in the Red House when he finished it? It rained and on Donna Cox weave. Nothing this man does makes sense. They spend $90 million on the Hazy Crawford Stadium to put some $5 seat for people to sit on. Unicode chairman, the same one, he said false and reckless, right? About Munilal, about false and reckless. Absolute truth. You turn a world-class football field into a cow down in Skinner Park. Then he said, Unicode, just leave here up. Unicode offers free car park. Look, all they don't say, Anil, look, another one. The man, pen. I don't even know how to use this camera because I was in the traffic. Let me try it right. This man, the same Noel Garcia, spent $132 million for a car park in South. Not a car, a park, not a park, a car, nothing. Another $132 million wasted by this no-tooth twist face one who feel he's something big in PNM. But up in St. Joseph, with a bad truck, a trunk full of something driving wrong, don't worry, election we go deal with he. So here what they say, San Fernando Park it free shuttle service now from UDCOT. Them waste $132 million. Nobody here park. So they're trying to encourage you to use the PNM car park. They say free shuttle service people, come and park and you can get a free ride on a maxi courtesy the PNM and UDCOT. Get to and from the city center with ease this Christmas, right? $8 per hour itinerary December 1st. Nobody still there parking. They don't even want all their $8. They don't want all their shuttle. The whole of South empty. All the malls empty. West Mall have people, but people only walking around, not $1 spending. Bahamas welcomes. Wait. We still on spot. How quickly we forget our heroes, says the Express. And they're talking about different things about Claude Noel. They're talking about the gold medal winning team, our relay team with Bledman and Richard Thompson and so on. They're talking about Hazy Crawford. They're talking about all the disrespect of our athletes. They're talking about the Paralympian, Hakeem Stewart and so on. But you know what Express didn't say? All this disrespect they're talking about has been and is being meted out by PNM. PNM don't respect athletes. PNM does disrespect Hazy Crawford from since he landed. It's Basdeo Pandey had to give him $500,000 to save his house. It is Pandey and the UNC named the stadium from National Stadium to Hazy Crawford Stadium. It is me as minister that he worked in NGC. He had his sport ambassadorship where he get his stipend, $30,000 a month, and no problem with no ticket. If it had showing GPay, he get ticket. He want car park, anything he want. But he say, oh gosh, he get disrespect and all the family and all the thing get disrespect. But he don't want to call Prime Minister Rowley. Never mind, it's the PNM that disrespect him. It's Shamford that disrespect him. It's the PNM government that disrespect him. Mr. PNM Hazy Crawford don't want to call Rowley because he's so busy. 8 years doing what? Busy mashing up the country. Hazy, I love you. 1976, still proud. Still one of the greatest moments in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. You and your red and white striped socks in lane 1, beating Bozoff, beating Harvey Grant, beating Tree American, beating the Panamanian, beating everybody in Montreal, winning gold for Trinidad and Tobago. I love it. I watched that race about 75 times over the years. Hazy is the greatest. But oh Lord, that PNM does. I don't know what to tell you, my brother. I don't know. If you had Balize in that socks, you sure come last. Bahamas welcomes 8 million passengers. 8 million. Bahamas, little tiny Bahamas. 8 million passengers. Do you all know how many under PNM in 2016, 2017, 2018? Tobago, beautiful, pristine, gorgeous Tobago, sweeter than the Bahamas. You know how many tourists arrived under the PNM central government and the THA, PNM THA in 2017, 2018? 18,000. Barbados welcomes 8 million passengers. 8 million, you know, multiply by million, multiply by US dollars, you know, all right. But you all have PNM and they come to boast in the parliament during the budget. Oh, arrivals in Trinidad came up to 158,000. We were very excited about that. 8 million in Bahamas. Local sugar prices expected to rise. I want to ask Coca-Cola and Coal and all of them, all you getting sugar? I hate have a shortage of sugar in Trinidad and Tobago. PNM shut down Carney and all. Trinidad, we can't, under PNM, we are no railway, we are no Carney, we can't make sugar, they close down pet, we can't make oil now, we can't make bitumen, we can't pave road. The PNM kill everything in this country and all they still want to vote for them. I'm asking all you, is there a sugar shortage in this country? In TNT's retail sector, is it dead or in permanent decline? An article by Anthony Wilson, who's not known to be a supporter of the UNC. I mean, I've had a few run-ins with him when he was trying to tell me that Ken Julian's TGU plant and the Chatham smelter plant that was going to give people cancer in their testicles, their throat, their lungs, their nose hole for generations to come, with people living within 5 kilometers of a smelter plant without scrubbers, with Chinese technology that was not proven, and so on, the Soderbergh technology. He was trying to tell me that was a great thing, man. That was great. We're going to have a smelter plant to kill people and poor people for generations to come and deform babies and children and so on. So he and all saying, under the PNM, the retail sector dead. Now, watch this. Now, if all you don't know that PNM really had no shame, this one will make you understand it for life. Archie went in the Ramai Hindu school, Ramai Trace Hindu school. Show all your bush thing left there when Tim Gopi Singh left about 70 schools at various levels of completion between 74% and 95%. And the wicked, vindictive, malicious PNM just left them there, just like in Mount Hope. All look to the right, it looked like forest, but it's a brand new school under there that the PNM left. They left the Ramai Trace Hindu school for 8 years. Bush cannot let it get dilapidated. Vandals come and mash it up. They eventually come, finally, to open the school during Christmas holidays. The PNM, as Munila says, the only government will open a school in the holidays. You know how shameless these PNM are. You know, look the video there. This is when Archie went in there. This was about 2 years ago, after they left the school for 6 years. Look at the workman. Even under the bush, you could see good workmanship, good design, solid concrete and steel structures, roof, thing, nice angles so the children wouldn't get wet and soaked down. The school bag would be good. They could pristine water tank because, you know, look at that. Even cricket nets in the back, all kind of things, security boot. Look how they left the school. Munilal beg, plead, year after year. You know, the PNM gone and eventually opened that school after Munilal fight, pull teeth, shout. The only thing he didn't do was cuss in the parliament. Write letter after about 33 letters. You know them put their name on the school, Gadsby Dolly, and the next one with green verbs. What's she name? I don't even know she name. Right? But look what the original thing was supposed to be. The Mahasabha had named our school, the Rudal Munilal School, because he had been fighting for it tooth and nail. You know the PNM moved our plaque and put Gadsby Dolly and the woman from the Abadio Mirror. If that is not shameless, if it shows you that the PNM have no sort of character, that alone will show you how classless the PNM are. Because had they had any class, they'd have just opened it, leave Munina name there, and press on. Nobody asked all for press conference. Nobody asked all to cut a ribbon. You humbug the children. You suffer generations of children. You leave the school there for 8 long years. And then you have the audacity to put your name on the school. Well, me ain't know about Munilal. But when Kamla Prasad Bisasan, the UNC, come in, me and Archie, we going down there with a chisel and a hammer and take up that sign. I telling all you, I promise all you, I taking down that sign and replacing it with the Rudal Munilal sign. I promise. All you, press record, you know. I very serious. I'm going down in my nice suit. You understand? Whether it's minister, no minister, nothing, I don't care. When Kamala is prime minister, Archie, you're driving me down in the van, and I taking a chisel and hammer and take up that plaque. Gatsby Dolly, and I'm telling all you. What else you have here? Look, just to show you, check the picture of Gatsby Dolly and them gallery in the cell. Only a set of bundles in the bush. Now, when I told you that the PNM incompetent, you all feel it's joke. When every time it drizzle, it flood, I kept telling you, every river mouth in Trinidad and Tobago over the last 8 years has not been desilted. They have not done the work, and therefore, once it rains, all of the water has nowhere to go. Man started telling me about the tide. The tide is high, like you want to sing. Them PNM just try to make up all sort of nonsense. Tide always high by City Gate then. Because anytime it rain more than 18 minutes, it flood. It flood in Arapita Avenue, it flood in Goodwood Park, it flood in Carnage, it flood in Maclot, it flood in Grandy, it flood in Couva, it flood in Princestown, it flood in Barrackport, it flood down in Point 14, it flood in Labre, it flood in Rio Claro. All day the tide was high all the time. Well, all you should sing a big tune. The tide is high for the PNM. Because let me show you, my people, exactly what I'm talking about. Because last week in the night, I went out to fish on a kayak, just there to look for some snook, better known as bochet. And look, let me show you evidence, because douglAR don't like to just talk. I like to show you the incompetence, the stupidity of the PNM. They cannot even dredge river mouth so that you don't flood out. Run it.
All right, we right here. Me and my boy Zizi, we fishing. We catch about 12 snook already. But just come to show you Rohan Sinanan. Look at this here. We right here in Diego Martin River mouth. Over here is open ocean Gulf of Paria, right? Dark. But look my rod tip here. I hope all you can see. We're going to stick this down. You mightn't be able to see. And we're going to touch the ground. Right? Look, I touching the ground and I digging sand. 1 foot, 12 inches. And look how far out we are. That is the Diego Martin River. And all you want to know why it are flooding. Every river mouth in Trinidad and Tobago is like this. Silt build up. We are out. We're supposed to be in at least 15, 20 foot of water here. But it's all silted up. No dredging. Therefore, when it rains, it floods. Simple. The maths not mathsing. Rohan, waste of time, Sinanan. Look at where we are. We're in the open ocean and 12 inches of water. Right? So well done, PNM.
You understand? So that's what you have. And then you have an attorney general who comes to say victory, and the newspaper says victory for AG in Paul Coolman malicious lawsuit challenge, $20 million judgment set aside. Because this one who said the file was missing and then spent some millions for our next man who get every time the PNM want to do a report that say that they okay or they hide the report, they just find Stanley John. They don't find nobody else, you know. They just have to find Stanley John. When they're looking to oppress or to suppress information, Stanley John is the man. Pay him some fees and he will just come. Remember, they went to research a file that wasn't missing, that this one say was missing, and Stanley John went to say that it really wasn't missing, but it am missing, but we need to improve things so that when the man lie about it missing, when it wasn't missing, that we would not do that again, and pay some millions of some $1 million for that report, you know. And all you still vote for these people. They come to say now victory, because a judge say they make the case that even though they knew the case was there, They had opportunity. They were told 12 times, come and make a defense. What are you doing? And they failed to do so. And then they lie and say the file was missing. They say that some little process, that someone didn't sign something when the original case had been filed and so on, and a technicality, even though previously precedent will show that the AG's office had accepted service like that, them get it set aside. And that's a big victory, they say. But it will be appealed, you understand, because the precedent that was set by that, it's a real bacchanal in that. But do you know, staying with the legal fraternity, and I took a little interest because my son was just called to the bar, you know, and I see that Russell Martino, senior counsel, says, cast aside your differences and all legal bodies must unite. Russell, PNM Martino, give me a damn chance, eh? Why don't wash your mouth, right? Because for a senior counsel, and you have nothing to say when an attorney general lies in a foreign jurisdiction and sign an affidavit saying he was just a note taker and not a senior counsel, when he fully well knew he was a senior counsel, and you find that's okay, and that's your boy because you get briefed with your old self, Russell Martino. So you don't talk about set aside differences. Why you don't set aside all the brief and all the money and all the licking of K-Packs that you're doing, sending our country down a toilet? Russell Martino. Here the next one. Law Association, suspend errant lawyers from practice until matters are concluded. Okay, powerful words. Law Association President Lynette Seabrand Sweet. Brilliant. Sounds good. What about this one here? What about this one, Lynette Seabrand Sweet? What about an attorney general, the titular head of the bar, who went in a court of foreign jurisdiction and signed affidavit fraught with lies? What to do with it? You see, I all with you, errant lawyers, boom, drop the book on them. But what about an errant attorney general, an errant attorney dunce? What about this? You see, all you like to play moralistic and strong and yes, let's stick to the rules. But when it involves PNM, the story does change. So Lynette Seabrand Sweet, senior counsel, just a humble bush lawyer, Anil, asking you, what about this one? While errant lawyers, yes, you must deal with them harshly. What you do with this kind of clown? This one who lost a fight that wasn't lost and liars say it was lost, but it ain't lost. Eh? And this one who trying to blame the DPP for what his government went and signed and released and did not have the building fit for purpose. What to do with this one? And this one, what to do with these other ones, Lynette Seabrand Sweet? What to do with a former attorney general who went and signed an indemnity? Well, you could put the former tight pants Catwoman if you want, or you could leave this one because both of them is the same. And I feel this one worse than Catwoman suit, right? Faris Al-Rawi, aka Johnny Sukaran. Because this one is now arguing in a case that they put forward with Vincent Nelson, who was paid tens of millions of dollars that could only be described as bribe by the PNM. And the PNM, under the Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi, that one, and Keith Christopher Rowley, authorized and signed an indemnity for that man who changes his mind as the money blow. He say, hey boy, Anil, your head ball. And then this one blows some money. Hey boy, Anil, your afro looking good, man. And he put it on paper. That is Vincent Nelson. Vincent Nelson, the pliable prostitute of a king's council, who was a queen's counsel, and them sign an indemnity with him to give evidence in a criminal matter against UNC, former UNC members. And now they are arguing in a case when the pliable legal prostitute now suing the indemnifiers for $100 million for you to pay. Their defense is, hey, what we did was illegal. If we could not be legal, what we did was illegal, and therefore there's no basis for this man to make any sort of claim. That's what them arguing in the court right now. And two senior counsel had told them, and sign off. Who were those two on the indemnity and told them it's legal, it's right, or you could interfere with witnesses in a criminal matter, never mind. The Constitution says that that is the sole repository of the DPP, the sole responsibility that falls under the DPP. But PNM could do anything. Lynette Seabrand Sweet, the dougLAR, my hair is big and not covered by no hair. And listening, because you want to deal with errant lawyers. What about an errant attorney general, former Catwoman, who's now the minister of Puya, and the Puya thing dull? What about that? What about a prime minister who does that? What about a government that does that? I want to hear you. All you dress up nice and talking, but all you ain't talking the real issues. These people have no shame whatsoever. But anyway, Ramdeen and Ram Logan go wipe the floor with this bag of fool anyway. But then you know what? When Ramdeen and Ram Logan beat this bag of dunce led by this dotish, misogynistic, disgusting human being who had to take Grabby Wabby wife down the stairs, past three dog, past a parrot, into the dungeon office and push you on the couch to wait on that red couch till the horny goat tweet kick in. This scum bucket here, when them get licks, when Faris Al-Rawi and a cat woman, cat suit get licks, you know who has to pay? You know who will have to pay Ram Logan and Ramdeen tens of millions of dollars? You, the taxpayers. And you know who's coming to make you all pay that by taking more of your properties as you get your property tax evaluation in the mail? These same miscreants. And you all say politics, all politicians are the same. And really? Pariah report, a test of governance, says the Express. Really? Well, so far, Rowley failed the test, Express, because the Express is saying that the Pariah report must be made public and all actions following from must be followed through and gone without interference. Where the Pariah report, Express? Rowley said at a lane cabinet. Why? For who to read it? Gadsby Dolly? She can't even read a essay. She can't even read a funding for gate. She have to read it. Who have to read it? Rohan Sinanan, the man who can't even build a road, mosquito crack, he have to read it. Who's got to read it? Why they got to read it? Why they laid in Parliament? Why they put on a website for everybody to read? Why it's not on the Ministry of Legal Affairs or the Office of the Attorney General website? Rowley stalling. Look, they called Parliament today. Did he lay it today? Was he in Parliament? Oh, he have cabinet tomorrow. So he's not laying it today. He will lay it after the next parliamentary sitting. When is that? January? Oh my goodness, Express. But just like everything else, you will give Rowley another hall pass. Rowley had about 50 hall pass already. Leaks, faulty sewer at school. Princestown West Secondary School. The teachers and students complain. That is PNM. But they put in plaque on the Ramai Trace Hindu School. Public, well, nurses now. I am just going through this first part of the show to show you from traffic to corruption to Attorney General Office to lies to lack of dredging of rivers, lack of infrastructural development, lack of any sort of care, heartlessness and incompetence of the PNM is overbearing. But let's go continue in that vein. Public health system. Rowley said we have the best health care in the Commonwealth, but anytime he get a cold or he get COVID 5 times, he just drift off and bust out to the USA for 27 days of medical treatment. I don't know if it's for delusion. I don't know what his treatment is for. But the nurses get up in a public session and start to discuss the woes of the healthcare system that Convent Girl says #1 in the world. And you're, I don't know what to say. Long wait times, bad attitudes from staff, and disappearing patient files were some of the complaints from the public about the local healthcare system at a joint select committee town hall meeting on social services. The audience member, Gillian Trumpet, said she recently went to the Port of Spain General Hospital at 4:45 a.m. and there were several elderly people ahead of her. She only got to see a doctor at 11:15 a.m., some 7 hours later. And after waiting for medication, she left the hospital at 3:30 p.m. Nearly 12 hours just to get a little medication for elderly people. That's all your health system under the PNM. She said having one dispensary, there's a nurse now, is also insufficient for the high volume of patients that visit hospitals daily. Her patient file also went missing. Had she not taken photos of the file and stored it in a phone, she said she would have been waiting even longer. Another audience member who was in an accident 19 years ago said her first patient file, which was thick like an encyclopedia, got lost. Her second file was also lost. With our country following the new age of technology, why isn't the system computerized? And Rowley saying digitalization, oh my goodness, they're going to take a loan of 120 million US. Good luck to all you. Nurse manager, this is the health system that this clung in charge of for 8 years. Nurse manager Avion Drayton Bailey said, she has been waiting for 2 years to get an echo test, a cardiac ultrasound, done in the outpatient clinic. 2 years waiting for ECG or echo. She could dead before she heard that echo. That is PNM. You would think that even being in the system, I would have been able to get through. She said waiting period is very long, as she visited in 2021 and only got an appointment a year later. For these critical things that determine your treatment and whether your life is saved or you're dead. That is PNM. Another nurse at the Diego Martin Health Center said management takes too long to fix or replace broken, faulty equipment. She recalled reporting one of the 3 ECG machines being down, but was told there were still 2, and then both of those also broke. So all 3 of the ECG machines break under this fool called Convent Girl and St. Joseph. All you know, everything broken in St. Joseph. You could drive in St. Joseph and break your axle and your shocks and probably your neck when you go down in a pothole this long here. She's recalled reporting the machines gone. You always have to be going around some red tape, go up a hill. We're trying to help people here. And when people get frustrated, they abuse the staff. That is PNM. Horrors in healthcare, the parliament here heard. Horrors in healthcare. Public editorial news there, no. But all these newspapers, they're the ones who leave PNM there. They play games. They get hot issues and realize the corruption, the incompetence, the wickedness, the abuse, the lies of the PNM, and then they let it go. They leave it because that's them, because the shareholders make money from PNM corruption. Public Healthcare on Blast says the Newsday editorial of Section 8, Sunday, December 12. Someone seeking care shouldn't have to be at the Port of Spain General Hospital at 4:45 to be able to leave with the necessary medication at 3:30 p.m. The patient files are lost with frightening frequency. One patient was only able to keep her case on track because she took photos of the contents. These stories of staggering administrative inefficiencies and outright failures of procedure don't inspire confidence in state authorities charged with the preservation and care of human life, says the Newsday. And it's Judy Raymond and them with the Newsday who are Rowley Day, because they tell you he's not really a misogynist. When he was a teacher and he used his power position to get pum-pum from a school girl, all they say, that's okay, it's Rowley. When he was there with Las Alturas, that's okay. Greenville, okay. Edinburgh Towers, Harmony Hall, 1.8 billion of projects as Minister of Housing with Andre Montai and Paris Al-Rawi, Johnny Sukaran on the board, buying land from his boy John Rahal without approval and building house for people to drown. That's okay. Oh, he went in Parliament and he lied through his teeth on a sitting Prime Minister and cabinet ministers and others. Okay, that's okay. It's Rowley. He lie every time. Delcy Gate, Police Service Commission Gate. He lie on Gary Griffith. He lie on Nelson Gate. He lie on Inez Gate. He lie on his integrity form. That's okay. He lie on Grabby Wabby and take his wife down the stairs. Okay, it's Rowley. You all really serious? People, are they really serious? All your PNM can't find nobody better than that? And to trust him upon the whole country? But here the Newsday. It isn't sensible to pretend that systems are working when they obviously are not. But Newsday, they have not been working. They were not working 8 years now. You now realize that? How many people have you allowed to die Newsday when you now get the epiphany that the PNM and Convent Girl Rowley and the Convent Girl are total incompetent idiots? You now get that? During COVID-19, you didn't know for the first 4 months that 4,234 tests, less than 0.03% of the population did not create a curve, and you let them say we're #1 in the world and we're doing well. Students drinking pints of lager in a pub somewhere near Oxford say, hey, look, the Trinidad and Tobago, they block their citizens from coming home. But never mind, they let indicted narco-terrorists land with a sanctioned jet, but no big thing. But citizens couldn't come home. Amen. Those guys are serious. You all let them fool the entire population. 4,970 people dead of COVID. Every variant known to man walk across the Gulf of Paria and infect all away. Over 7,300 small and micro enterprises shut down. People, businesses shut down. People credit gone through. Man, country mash up. Road to recovery is road to decimation, pain and sufferation. And Newsday, you now realize that this bag of dance in the PNM is incompetent. Talpa accuses minister of bias. Pilots find minister's comments troubling. Labour Minister Stephen McClellan, who is he? Where the find he? You know that a government don't care about labor and don't care about you when they put somebody that I in politics every day. And me, I even know this McClashy. He went up in library something with a ball. He said, the man they do nothing, he knows nothing, he says nothing, all they don't even know who I talking about. Think about it. Don't pop no picture here. I want all you there, close your eyes and picture McClatchy. You all have no clue who I'm speaking about. And that's the Minister of Labour for the last 3 years. That's what the PNM thinks of Labour. But what can I say? The OWTU, the most powerful union under Roger, Kamala had all the workers working. Rowley fire, all the workers get fired. And somehow, Roger said, vote PNM. Now, if you all could make sense out of that, I wish you all the best. But the pilots are fed up of the minister and his useless, irresponsible statements. Also, I see an article in the Sunshine where somebody released the files about Mr. Hernandez, a former pilot, and so on. Well, we go in and check on, since all they like to release files on people, mental records, and where they went for treatment and so on. We're looking for some delusional ones who went for treatment, and we're going to find the records and release it too. Rowley, are you delusional? Are you getting treatment for dementia, Keith Rowley? What about you, Colm? Everything all right in your family? You know, do you have any track record or history in your family of any sort of problems like that? Don't worry, we're checking on it. The Cabo Star, grounded for 16 days in the Christmas season. Hey, if PNM don't hate Tobago, I don't know. Rowley is a Tobagonian, and the most pain ever meted out and disrespect Tobago is since Rowley became Prime Minister in September 2015 to now, whether it was the collapse of the sea bridge, the disrespect the so-called giveaway of Tobago lands to Sanders, negotiated by Smallpin, the disrespect of Shampa Cujo as Minister of Tourism and Tobago MP, when Smallpin take over the portfolio and she didn't know what was going on, when the chief secretary was put on the floor and Rowley and Sinanan and Smallpin sit up on the head table, all you forget all of that. Well, look now, Tobago has been serviced by a Kobo Star. This thing, air worth more than 7,000 US per day. Rowley signed the money, the crooked money that he described it as, for the charter party agreement over the phone. He was in Tobago for that Kobo Star. It now reached $256 million, and it still shut down during Christmas to suffer the people at Tobago without the cargo vessel. But Rowley tell all you, UNC corrupt, Ghanaians, the Superfast Galicia, corruption. Well, Nairi Alfonso, everybody win the case. The Superfast Galicia was moving fast and with full capacity. Tobagonians were happy with the service. And that was 14,000 euros per day. Rowley go on and get something for 26,500 US per day. That ain't worth nothing. Over 19,000 US per day going in somebody's pocket. He described it as crooked money, but he approved the crooked money. And without his approval, prime ministerial approval, that he later went to cabinet for covering approval, not a cent could have been paid, not a crooked cent could have been stolen. But he approved the crooked money. And all you said, that is prime minister. Now, Republic Bank, y'all think the country is not paying attention? There's this lady called Alison Due Diligence Lewis that I told y'all was a permanent secretary, Ministry of Finance, then a PNM chairman of Port Authority, went as vice chairman of Nikwan Energy, went there, but she was also on Republic Bank board. And when I asked y'all, and I'm asking Republic Bank to answer, how did Nikwan qualify for 120 million US loan when the assets were valued at the most at 10 million cash, 10 million US? What they use as collateral? They had not produced one bit of diesel, one bit of anything. They had no revenue. They were owing and owing and owing. How did they qualify? Because people know to qualify for a loan, it's very difficult. And when I ask these questions, Republic Bank, you just simply let this woman retire, right there. You let she retire and put her advertisement in we papers for $30,000 to tell we this woman of substance has gone. She retired. But you didn't answer the questions. But now I see, you know who she replaced with by Republic Bank? What's this one? Mark Loquan. This is the man who for the first time in history oversaw a loss at NGC in 2019-2020. NGC never made a loss before. NGC used to make 2.1 billion US per year under Kamala and thing. This man make a loss for the first time. Republic Bank say, hey man, you lost money over there? Come on our board. We love you, man, because they take good care of the PNM. This man also is the man when Shell, BP, and the Chinese company CIC said, listen, Atlantic Train 1, 2019, we are no gas for that. We ain't doing nothing with that. He sat on the NGC. He worked and advised with his NGC board, with Smallpin, with Rowley, to maintain the Atlantic Train 1. Took $233 million of taxpayers' money and flushed it down the toilet. Atlantic Train 1 was dead in 2019, dead in 2020, dead in 21, dead in 22, dead in 23, and Rowley now admit it is dead. But your money went, and I'm asking, if it took $233 million to maintain it between 2019 to 2021, which is approximately 2 years, how much money did it take to maintain it for negotiating purposes between 2021 and 2023? Logic will say a similar figure of 233 million. So could be 466 million. Stuart Smallpin Young went in the parliament, admitted 233 million. And he said that's a drop in the bucket, no big thing, we will make that back. Rowley comes in his press conference and lies and says it's 24 million US. No, it's 34,776,000 US. 34 million US, Rowley. Stop lying in your press conferences. People have memory, people research, and people keep the facts. So this man not only crashed NGC, he wastes 233 plus however much for the 2 more years with Atlantic Trade, with Small Pin and Rowley PNM. On top of that, he wasted another $222 million on some project, some pump thing. Me, I know what it was. Me, I know gas man, but all I know is the money gone. Another project that when they finish wasting taxpayers' money, they realize here now, we don't need it. And you know what Republic Bank does? They reward this dunce, this incompetent waste of taxpayers' money. This man who take a profit-making entity and turn it into a loss-making entity. And you know what Republic Bank does? Out of all the citizens in Trinidad and Tobago, Republic Bank find he to put him on the board to replace Alison due diligence, Niquan Lewis. No Republic Bank. We want to know how they qualify for 120 million US loan, and you're cutting people US credit card. Them who could have get 12,000 US, them getting 6,000 US. Them who could have get 20,000 to buy goods, they getting less than that, 10,000 now. But you, Republic Bank, somehow with Alison due diligence Lewis on your board, and the Niquan board, and the PNM chairman of the Port Authority, you found it fit to waste 120 million US. How much of that you make back? What was the interest rate? What is the bad debt? Who paying off that? What assets you got for it? How did they pass? Who signed off and approved that? Republic Bank. I see they also let go a man who was in charge of risk. You fire he and put somebody else. Yes, but we want to know why you fire, why you move the man. Because risk is where who would have approved the Niquan loan. So Republic Bank, all of these secret things, this is not good for confidence in an institution that has a stellar track record over the years, Republic Bank. And do you know something, Republic Bank? Like your shareholders listening to douglAR Politics, because I now turn to Business Express, Thursday, December 12th, 2023, page 15. Republic shareholders raise Niquan exposure. I don't want you say a lie, no look at it. Let me read a little bit from it. The issue of Republic Financial Holdings Limited exposure to the troubled Niquan gas to liquids plant in Pointe-a-Pierre was raised by several shareholders of the bank at its annual meeting yesterday, according to a shareholder who attended the events. In response to the concerns raised, Group President and CEO of RFHL, Nigel Batiste, stayed clear of any specific mention of Niquan, but spoke in general terms of the group's loan portfolio. No, Mr. Batiste. No, Mr. Batiste. There are specific questions. Alison due diligence Lewis was on your Republic Bank board. She was the deputy chairman of Niquan. Republic Bank approved 120 million US loan, which is now poof, gone, disappeared. Why was it approved? How was it approved? What collateral? What was the risk? Who signed off on it? The country must know, because the people of Trinidad and Tobago are also shareholders in Republic Bank. And now you quietly send Alison due diligence Lewis off into the sunset quietly to say she's a woman of substance. We say no and understand the government will change, and don't feel the douglAR will forget, So whoever Kamala make Minister of Finance, I will be in the airs. I want to know, because many people has come to me, small business people, and say, boy, I can't get can't get a loan, I can't get nothing because I don't have this and I didn't have assets and I can't qualify and they say the risk too high. So how Nikwan get 120 million US that has been lost at what interest rate? How was it approved, Mr. Nigel Batiste? Don't tell me about your overall loan portfolio. Me ask your business. Ask your Nikwan because it's PNM. Nikwan, Alison, Juju, PNM Lewis, and you replace her with Mark Loquan, PNM Loquan, PNM NGC, PNM Loss, PNM Waste Money, wanted indemnity along with the board members of the PNM, and Rowley praising he and flying all over with he, and you all gone and put he on Republic Bank. You think that's putting confidence in the shareholders and the customers of Republic Bank, Mr. Nigel Batiste and others, and to the shareholders who are asking, continue to ask, because this story gets worse. They are surreptitiously moving people, replacing them with people and trying to move on. Who going to pay back that? Who has lost that? What was the impact on your dividend and your share value at Republic Bank? Look at here. And all your media should be asking, why are you asking? But then, Republic trying to do some PR. Republic Bank disperses 520 loans. Oh my goodness, let's clap. Oh, don't clap yet. Don't clap yet. 520 loans valued at 40 million to some micro enterprises. 40 million and TT, you know. 520. They give Nikwan one loan of 120 million US. But they come to boast that they give 520 small and micro businesses 40 million TT. Hey, if this country, you know, all you could try to pass off things, but the douglAR has read all of these things, and my mother and father bless me with a memory, you know. As we talk that, Ansa Makal and KGL signed green energy. Now, who's KGL and who's Ansa Makal? You see, Guardian Media Limited, I've told you all, the Guardian newspaper who hired Asha Javid, whose pro-PNM position is nauseating. Their disgusting dishonesty has led to losses in 9 months. This 9 months of this fiscal of $12.4 million and dropping because people have realized the dishonesty of Guardian Media Limited. And I always proffer to you that the reason they do that is that the rest of the group makes money from the PNM, from the largest, and knowing the PNM and getting in. Well, KGL is Ken Julian, and his son Philip Julian. And they now have a PNM MOU to bring hydrogen or new energy. Conglomerate Ansa Makal and Kenneth J. Green Limited yesterday signed a memorandum of understanding to accelerate the development of a new and commercially viable green energy project in the Caribbean. Right? So this Ken Julian, the man of Severn Trent, the man of TGU plant, the man of smelter plant, the man of UTT building went up from 300 million to 1.8 billion. The man of bamboo networks, 31 million. Your money disappeared. This Ken Julian. Also steel plant, anything. He's very bright, yes. He has some good ideas, but everything that he touched, you lose. Down to World GTL and Nikwan. Ken Julian is the originator of the concept. Now his son Philip Julian gets a letter from the PNM saying, hey, this company will be given all of these perks and this opportunity to go into new green energy, hydrogen and so on. And with that letter, Philip Julian is going around the world collecting money. Remember, he signed something 75 million US with some French company. Now he signed MOU with Ansa Makal. Nobody knows what's the benefit, what is the amount, what is the profit. But we know that Ansa Makal is the owner of Guardian Media Limited, who hires Asha Javid, who has on record a judgment against her. A judge call her dishonest. A judge call her tell she's unprofessional, and there's no way she could not have known that what she was writing was not false. Go and read the judgment in the Sibalak Singh matter against the Express, Irene Medina, and this Asha Javid that Guardian Media has hired as their #1 political investigative editor. And then you see them signing deal with Philip Julian, baby Ken Julian, another era of PNM Julian coming in all your question. But all you just vote for that. All you even get one era of nothing, wherever all your name is there. You can't even get gate, you can't get laptop. They're talking now that they're giving people laptop based on means test. So if you're poor, you could get a laptop from the PNM. When Kamala was saying every living child sitting there getting a laptop, take it in your house, go and help. Rowley said that is done, see her children. You know our woman, Laurel Lizama leasing yesterday, when we say that in the Senate, say that is Kamala who said that. They are so dishonest. They are so sick. Laurel Lizama leasing. Say it was Kamala who said you're giving laptop to Dancy children. She so couldn't believe that somebody could say it. Well, Laurel Lizama leasing, miss $500,000. Let me tell you something. It's Rowley who said that, who said the laptop program was total waste, and you're giving a laptop to every child. You're giving it to Dancy head children. It was Keith Christopher Rowley who said that, your prime minister. So don't try and blame Kamala for your ridiculous, Dancy, misogynistic, dotish prime minister statement. You can't even believe. You can't even believe that he said it. All you're so sickening, all your dishonest PNM. And now they're talking about laptop and so on, interconnectivity and digitalization. But Kamala was there in 2011, going to give Wi-Fi throughout the country for everybody. Some all you now TSTT changing package, all you wouldn't have data. So when all your wife and thing in taxi, they can't, you don't know if they're safe, where they are, because you only see one tick. Because you can't afford to have data on your phone now, because TSTT going and raise their packages come January. So it's unsafe for women to travel. They have to wait to connect to somebody Wi-Fi. You only know if they reach home when you get 2 tick, when they reach home. If it's the remain 1 tick, you don't know what's going on. And on top of that, on top of Rowley's PNM signing with the baby Philip Julian, baby Ken Julian now to go another few generations of insane, ridiculous wastage of taxpayers' money. Dominica joined with Rowley too. Skerrit. Skerrit, I wonder if you had 3 dog, a parrot, a red couch boy Skerrit. Because you and Rowley seem very similar. You come to tell me how Rowley really nice. Like you take Rowley on the red couch past 3 dog and a parrot. Skerrit. Look, Dominica now signs MOU with who? Who all you feel Dominica sign a MOU with? Don't say Anil Roberts. Kenneth J. The same as Rowley, Philip Julian, Ken Julian. Dominica has its own dotish Rowley called Skerrit, right? The Dominica government has signed a memorandum of understanding with Trinidad-based energy company for the acceleration of the regional green hydrogen project development. Now we know why Skerrit come in we country during a local government election to tell we that Rowley is not really a jackass, that Rowley is not really a misogynist, that Rowley is not really a pathological liar, that Rowley is not really abusive, that Rowley really didn't horn grabby wabby with the wife downstairs, that Rowley don't really take pum to give people work in the cabinet. He come to tell we that Rowley is not a disgusting parliamentary liar in email gate, Nelson gate, Police Service Commission, lie on the integrity form and then declare a benefit of $468,000. Nah, he come to tell we, this Dominican Prime Minister here, me know where Dominica find he, right? They must find he when a volcano vomit, because this man come to talk nonsense in Trinidad and Tobago, but Rowley's a good man. You want to see why he said that? Money a flow, deal a make. Wherever Rowley do, he go. Next thing you go see he trying to dance conga line with Maduro too in Dragon. Move in. Cop Erla apologizes over promotion fiasco. Police Commissioner Erla Harewood Christopher has apologized to her officers after the legitimacy of some 900 promotions was Erla, you was an all-rounder. You know, if you was playing cricket, you can't bat, you can't bowl, you can't field. Oh Lord, Erla, but you look good in your tea dress. But go and join a tea club now, man. And leave the people police look serious now, man, Erla. The big question, do you support communities that have hired private security amid the high incidence of home invasions? Really? This is the big question in the Express, right? The big question. But Express, when Kamla Prasad Bisesa was in charge as Prime Minister, there was something called community comfort patrols, linked to national security, linked to the NOC, the National Operations Center. They were all linked to the police, and they would go around in different communities, patrolling throughout the day and night, adding service protection, another layer of safety, communication protection, witnesses observation, and so on. The community comfort patrols under Kamla Prasad Bisesa brought comfort and safety and security and a feeling of being assisted by the population. The PNM cut the community comfort patrols. These comfort patrols stopped robberies, murders, got police to intervene and prevented home invasions. Now home invasions are at the highest ever because of lack of policy, lack of programs, lack of effort by Keith Rowley, by sleepy narcolepsy, ride on a horse and whine on an 8-year-old boy on top the horse, Fitzgerald Ethelbert, body bag Hines. And y'all talking now people have to pay out of their own pocket for what Kamala was doing with their resources to protect them. And y'all telling me politics is a joke? Politics are a very serious thing. Kamala will bring back community comfort patrols. Well, boy, Keith Rowley called a press conference. He went to London. He didn't go cop 28 because it didn't have no money. They didn't have no CEO. It had no deal to make. That just climate change, big thing, existential threat to the planet Earth. No problem. That no interest Rowley. It had no money in that. It had no deal in that. Rowley only want to go where it had deal. So Rowley come back home and then he gone to play signing deal to come and tell all you that he and Smallpin did such a great job. They renegotiated equity in Atlantic LNG. Now, mind you, it don't kick in till October 2024 and July 2027. But they also come to do some maths with you. And we, in Trinidad and Tobago, we had 11% of train 1. And we had 10% of train 4. We had nothing in train 2 and 3. Now train 1 is dead, which means we lost 11%. And now out of 2, 3, and 4, we have 10%, even though we had 10% of 4 by itself. And Stuart Smallpin Youngs comes to tell us that our cumulative value or percentage equity was 5.4%, and now we have 10%. But you know what he forgot to tell you? There was a Chinese shareholder inside that day, It wasn't only BP and Shell. They had a Chinese shareholder, CCIC or something. Them had a 5%. But them exit the company last year. Now, if you know Chinese businessmen and Chinese heritage, and Chinese people are known for profit making, for maximizing profit. They're brilliant business people in whatever business they do. So when a Chinese company leave an amalgam of sorts, doesn't it tell you that that business is making money? That business in trouble? Chinese companies don't leave money. They don't leave profit. Could you all agree with me with that? So they left the 5%. So therefore, there was a 5% just floating around. Rowley and Smallpin we'll give him that 5%, 5% by BPHL and come back and say, oh, yeah, look what we do. When they ask them, but what about you doing? We ain't know nothing, but we look, oh, yeah, we good. We work hard. It's 6 years of work. We ain't do nothing. We have no gas. We have shareholder. What's the responsibility? Where you getting the gas? Dragon? Well, let me tell you something. In that press conference, after Rowley said nothing for 56 minutes on Atlantic trains and the equity share that will come to us is his legacy. When they ask about Dragon Gas, he talked 35 seconds. He said, well, that one going. Now they just dance, the dragon, the editorials, they praise. When the UNC say, but all your praising it had no cash, then they come back, they say they get extension, they could get cash, but now it are no dragon. Now it are Guyana versus Venezuela and US down there versus Venezuela and sanctions pending and Maduro and them lying about 10.5 million people vote in a referendum when the place was like a ghost town and sanctions hanging over just waiting to be dropped on Maduro. Rowley come and talk 37 seconds about Dragon Gas and he tell all nothing. Then he come to pretend and he say, but what is this narrative about all eggs in one basket, this nonsense? Well, I is the man who talk about the eggs in the basket because I listened to Stuart Smallpin Young in the Senate on a motion brought by the Honorable Senator Wade Mark about Dragon Gas. And Stuart Young went through and was boasting from 2016 coming up to 2018, and we would have gotten gas in 2020, but COVID came and we would have monetized that because that was proven reserves and it's right there and so much trillion TCF and blah, 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 blah. And he boasting about Dragon. And when we look at his track record and the PNM's track record, bid rounds, out of 17 bids for deep water, only 3 taken up. Nothing coming to fruition, no investment, nothing going to come to bring gas for the next 10 years. They've done nothing in 8 years. Rowley come and he listened to the douglAR, but he come and say, Smallpin, come and deal with the douglAR now. Tell the people that we didn't really put all we eggs in one basket. Listen to him now, because don't take my word for it. Listen to your Prime Minister, the Honorable Dunce, the Honorable Pathological Liar, Keith Christopher Horny Go to Eat Rowley. Listen.
I've heard somebody said we have all our eggs in one basket. Minister Young, come up here and tell the country how many eggs we have in any basket. It's time for this. What do we do? Just throw hands up in the air and say, well, there are issues, there are challenges? No. These are all matters outside of our control. And insofar as we are able to influence them, we continue to do so because we travel in hope and expect to arrive in victory.
Just very briefly, because as the Prime Minister said, he's tasked me in the coming weeks to have the conversations, to give more details as to what's been going on.
I want you to speak specifically about this nonsense about the government having all its eggs in one basket.
You've heard of significant other areas where we've worked with existing entities and we've allowed sidetrack drilling, deeper drilling of wells and these types of things. The Cabinet has given full support, allowed us to do that. That is what is keeping volumes coming. We have EOG. We have also done a lot of work with other persons like Parenco, the EOG, the Touchstone, and you're seeing volumes coming there. So all of our eggs are never in the energy sector in one basket, and this is why we continue to have these conversations, and you're seeing the direct results of that type of work.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if all you did not hear Stuart Smallpin Young say absolutely nothing, just talk with using verbs that have no impact on anything, both sidetracking and this and EOG and that and Touchstone, nothing. Because he could say nothing, because they have done nothing. And they're talking about all the eggs in one basket. And Rowley, don't pretend about you didn't hear about his Anil say in the Senate in response to your Stuart Smallpin Young dunce that you, the PNM, put all your eggs in one basket, and now the people of Trinidad and Tobago will suffer because of your stupidity, your lack of vision, your inability to walk and chew gum. And just to let you know, let's listen and make sure that it was the douglAR who talk about eggs in one basket. Run it when I responded to Stuart Smallpin-Young in the Senate. Run it. That is what they're boasting about, because they said dragon gas is it all, and they put all the effort, and right now all the effort, the basket empty, because they miss all the egg outside the basket. So when we talk about this motion, it is a very serious motion. We did not hear that. So therefore, we are worried, because everything is a secret, and Trinidad and Tobago's future has been put on hold by the PNM, because all the eggs in that basket, but the basket looking weak, the basket looking like it gets soaked, the basket look like everything is going to fall out. Now, just to let you all know, let's listen now to Stuart Smallpin-Young debating that same motion about dragon gas, and you listen for yourself and see if it appears that everything, all the effort, all the focus was on dragon gas since 2016. Check for yourself. Run it.
So in 2015, late 2015, in 2016, the Honorable Prime Minister, I was part of it, the Minister of Energy, at the time, saw the need to begin planning for the future, if we're going to continue having a future in Trinidad and Tobago. And we began planning with respect to Loran Manatee, which is a 10 TCF field, as well as Dragon, which is what we call a cross-border gas. You will recall in 2016, we negotiated that first memorandum of understanding. Very quickly in 2018, we had a commercial term sheet. We had agreed with Venezuela the price of gas, the allocation of gas, and that gas was set to come to Trinidad and Tobago by 2020. The next thing that happened, unfortunately, in the world of geopolitics, as small as we are caught between Venezuela and the United States. Sanctions came under a certain US administration that shut that down. Otherwise, the gas would have been here in 2020 and we would be having a completely different discussion. Fortunately, we didn't stop there. We then negotiated, well, let us deal with Manatee on our side. We've been pursuing deep water gas with Woodside and formerly BHP. And we continued, but we did not give up hope on Dragon. I remember the headlines, Dragon cannot dance. We stuck with those principles that come from the UN, but we could not pursue the deal because the operators, Shell, would go nowhere near it because of fear of sanctions. We did not give up. We very quietly came up with a strategy that we implemented as soon as possible, a change of administration in the United States, all of the time maintaining our relationship with Venezuela. When we were in the middle of COVID and our borders were closed, and the vice president of Venezuela, who remains the vice president today, Delcy Rodriguez, wrote to us diplomatically and said, I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. And I, as the Minister of National Security, on the advice of the Prime Minister, allowed the vice president of Venezuela to come to Trinidad and Tobago.
All the eggs in that basket, no bid wrongs, no gas coming, no future, no new research, no new exploration, nothing, no interest. He come there, Rowley tell him, boy, debunk what Anil say, man. Tell him that what we have is other eggs, not all in that dragon gas egg basket. He come and say, well, boy, we talking so, and we talking here, and here and he called plenty name. Nothing. That's how a minister does a press conference? No, not at all. Tell us what block, tell us where, tell us how much they invested, what the geological surveys, what the seismic surveys say, when they believe, how much TCF they found, when will it come up, how much investment it needs, what is the negotiation, tell us what are the incentives you're giving to bring it up, and the gas will be here next year to pump into Atlantic. Nothing. Because now they are shareholders, as they say, 10% in 2, 3, and 4 with no gas. A Chinese company leave that and gone. What they leave it for? It had plenty money and they run. The Chinese company didn't like money. Rowley say the government avoids IMF. let me tell you all, as I've been telling you all, Keith Christopher Rowley should just say, thank you, Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Because Keith Christopher Rowley's position is that other countries have gone to the IMF, but Trinidad and Tobago did not have to go to the IMF. The answer to that is simply because Kamla Prasad Bisesa, between 2010 and 2015 August, left 7.7 billion US in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. She left 12.26 billion US in reserves, 14 months of import cover. She left Trinidad and Tobago with a AAA plus rating so they could borrow money. So Keith Rowley and Imbut, who carried our debt to GDP ratio at one time up to 97% from 51% that Kamala had it at. They did not have to go to the IMF because Kamala left money there for your future, for your generations, for your children. Rowley took your children's future and mortgaged it. So that's why he didn't have to take money from the IMF. But you know what he did? He put in and implemented IMF prescriptions, which is remove all subsidies. Your fuel subsidy move 5 times, reduce nearly to nothing. Regular gas gone. Your TNTEC subsidy going. Your water rate subsidy going. They also took away food cards from 48,000 down to 28,000. Down to 18,000, from 42,000 down to 18,000 pre-COVID. They cut social development. They say they didn't cut it, the pensions and so on cannot be cut, but they cut across the board. They cut funding for UTT, NESC, MIC programs. They cut THTTI. He said not a public servant lost a job. He redefined public servant because he talking just on in the ministries, but in all the government companies, all the state agencies, all the special purpose companies, over 7,000 people lost jobs. TSTT 740, MIC, NESC 12 centers closed down, THTTI staff of 120 closed down, IT, Ministry of IT, 200 professionals gone, across the board, education gone, social workers gone, guidance counselors gone, sport development officers, Ministry of Sport gone. This man is such a pathological liar. He implemented austerity measures, suffered the population, suffered the workers, cut your fuel subsidy, and then say, oh, he did good because he didn't go to the IMF. You didn't have to go to the IMF because you went by Kamala, because Kamala left money, Kamala left reserves, Kamala left borrowing ratings that you could access borrowing. So talk the truth. The Prime Minister tells UNC, shut up, and calls to mediate imbroglio. Let me read it. This was only just a few days ago. Right now, you're on a plane going to the mediation set up by Ralph Gonzalez, partner. Rowley have no shame. That man going there. Before he said, no, I have golf to play. Me ain't going there because I talk so. The PNM missing a shame bone, you know. The opposition is being accused by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley of going against the people of Guyana. His comments come after the United National Congress leader Kamla Prasad Bisesa reiterated calls to the government to mediate in the dispute over the Essequibo territory. Speaking at a media conference at the Diplomatic Center yesterday, Rowley criticized the opposition's commentary on the matter, calling it a direct contradiction of Guyana's desires. The people of Guyana are firm in their position. I speak to the president on an ongoing basis. You lie because the president going and he going to talk. Rowley talking on behalf of the president. Anyway, let me continue. President on an ongoing basis as a head of CARICOM. This has been in front of us a long time. Guyana does not encourage and does not require its problem to be dealt with by any mediation with Venezuela at this time. Guyana places its store and its fortunes in the adjudication of the International Court of Justice. That was Rowley's categorical statement. The very next day, Prime Minister Ralph Gonzalez and called Guyana and Venezuela to talks, and both agreed to go and talk. And then Rowley now jump on a plane to go there to see if he could squeeze in the talks after telling Kamala to shut up. The man is a dunce. The man is a complete idiot. The man is a complete liar. The man has no class. The man has no shame. He tell Kamala shut up and then go on to do exactly what Kamala tell him to do. Oh Lord! Let me tell you, this country is in a serious state and the crime situation is out of hand. Last week, 12 days ago was the funeral of a young fella, Tafari Charles, who was killed in Diego Martin area, Queen Elizabeth. He was sleeping with his niece and nephew, cuddling them up. Woke up to a home invasion and ended up being shot by murderous killers in his neck. This country has people who are independent, supposed to be independent, and they flagrantly, bold-facedly eliminate any sense of propriety, decency, independence, and righteousness. That's why our country has the most evil miscreant as a prime minister. They have a Diurup Timal, who's an independent senator. And I do research and find out he was a PNM board member with Uttara Rao, the worst of the PNM. And then the lies of Delcy Gate. Let me just remind you all of these issues because there's so many. The PNM is so corrupt and so bad that we sometimes forget. Run it, Archie.
We couldn't find that video.
Oh, you couldn't find those? But you only could find it on the press conference. Yeah. And just to remind you, Stuart Smallpin Young right there, say he let in Delcy Rodriguez on the advice of his prime minister, you know. But listen to what Rowley was saying back then. Just let me remind you of the dishonesty of Keith Christopher Rowley. Run it. Delcy Gate.
Delcy Rodriguez was appointed by the Venezuelan government to head the COVID response in that country on the 12th of March. Oh yeah, no, sorry, that's our day. That's our first 12th of March, our first COVID. It was on the 27th. Yeah, she was appointed on the 27th of February. And I left this country and I went abroad. I think I traveled on the 1st of March. Minister Young traveled with me and got back here on the 4th of March. As soon as he got back here, before I got back here, this appointment of Delcy Rodriguez as the head of COVID had taken place the week before. She requested to meet with Trinidad and Tobago. When I got back here on the 10th of March from Ghana, I met this request. A request made a week after she was appointed to the COVID team. The request was made to Minister Young, who brought it to my attention when I got back here. I agreed to meet with her. She came here on the meeting was postponed from Monday the 16th to the 27th of March. So she came on the 27th. And yes, there was a delegation, a small delegation that accompanied her. I think they were all men, most of whom were not introduced to us. The meeting took place at the diplomatic center, and actually there was no, she did not discuss before the details of what you were going to talk about, right? Present with her was, I'm now discovering, some person called Asdrubal Chavez, who I'm now discovering as part of the commission. He worked as part of a commission for PDVSA restructuring somewhere in his past. Nobody in that meeting was introduced to us as president of PDVSA. Nobody. And I can confirm now that at that meeting on that day, there was no president of PDVSA there.
Good morning, everyone. Chester Sembrano, Guardian Media.
Morning.
My question to Minister Young is, in the interest of the transparency that you spoke of, would the government now be willing to make public the minutes of that meeting with the Venezuelan president and Mr. Chavez, so the country could see what exactly Mr. Chavez's role and contribution was in that meeting?
Thank you very much, Mr. Sembrano. Mr. Sembrano, as I indicated, it was the Executive Vice President of Venezuela. The Prime Minister has spoken about what took place in that meeting. It was only 5 persons in the room. There are no minutes of the meeting. What we discussed was matters related to COVID. We discussed the Venezuelan population in Trinidad and Tobago. We asked how was COVID being managed in Venezuela. There was even an offer of test kits from Venezuela to Trinidad. We said no thank you, because they have a much larger population and a lot of restrictions on them. Mr. Chavez was quiet in the meeting, and as I say, at the time it wasn't even known what Mr. Chavez's role was. He subsequently became the president of PDVSA a month and a day later. At that stage, it is a prime minister, a minister of foreign affairs, a minister of national security, the executive vice president of Venezuela, and someone who was on a commission for the restructuring of PDVSA in a meeting discussing COVID. No one was sitting down writing notes or minutes to present. I have given you the information as to what was discussed, as has the prime minister. In 2016, we began in earnest pursuing Dragon. The first thing we did, as you do in these arrangements, is sign a government-to-government agreement. We signed one with the government of Venezuela. For the first time, they were prepared to export gas out of the Dragon field. But we could not pursue the deal because the operators, Shell, would go nowhere near it because of fear of sanctions. We did not give up. We very quietly came up with a strategy that we implemented as soon as possible, a change of administration in the United States, all of the time maintaining our relationship with Venezuela. When we were in the middle of COVID and our borders were closed, and the vice president of Venezuela, who remains the vice president today, Delcy Rodriguez, wrote to us diplomatically and said, I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. And I, as the Minister of National Security, on the advice of the Prime Minister, allowed the Vice President of Venezuela to come to Trinidad and Tobago.
Now, those are two of the most powerful individuals in your country. Keith Christopher Rowley, the Prime Minister, and Stuart Smallpin Young, his K-Pax liquor and Minister of everything and going everywhere to cut deals all over. Those are the people who control your money, your resources, who are in charge of your lives. Did you listen? Just look at them and listen. I don't need to say anything more. And I have many more images to show you, because Astrobal Chavez is all kind of sitco. He is Maduro. He is Wilmer Ruperti. He's been involved in PDVSA. He's been a minister of energy in Venezuela since 2002 under Chavez. Citgo, there's right now in the USA, Citgo, which is the Ruperti, which is the Venezuela oil gas company, is now in court, and an executive is being charged in the US for money laundering for a drug trafficker up in the States, ex-Citgo CEO, drug trafficker, money launderer. And these people are in charge, and Rowley's negotiating with them. And Archie, flash forward a little bit to the end. There's a little quote that Rowley took from the press conference where Rowley was saying, never mind what happens. Never mind the moral issues, the ethical issues, the dictatorial issues or tendencies, the disrespect, right? I have a problem to read that now, Archie, but I will try because I have a square here with me here, Right, thank you. Yes, go down lower and then you'll come up. Go down about 2 and right there and then you'll come up. Rowley said, despite this advice, right? Despite the advice that Maduro was attacking Guyana in the most vile manner, disrespecting the international court. Raul said, despite this advice, he will put his best foot forward and continue a working relationship with Maduro. There's a place for trust in dealing with leaders, international officials, and there's a place, Go Apache, for doing business. And they're not really qualifying me as any expert in mental health or truth bar. What I can tell you is that Trinidad and Tobago's position is that we maintain good, honest, and direct relationship with our neighbors, including Venezuela, and we conduct ourselves on certain principles, he said. Keith Christopher Rowley is telling you, never mind what Maduro does, never mind what Delcy does, never mind how they attack Venezuela, how they attack Guyana, never mind how they disrespect and ignore the International Court of Justice, the UN Charter, the OAS. Never mind what their position is. Never mind how oppressive. Never mind how dictatorial. Never mind that Astrobal Chavez and Sitco and Wilmer Ruperti have been caught with Trafigura PTE in over 7 different countries for corrupt actions. Never mind that Delcy and Maduro were convicted, indicted narco-terrorists and terrorizers, oppressors of democracy. Never mind that. If it have deal to cut, Rowley go in and cut that deal. That's what you get when you elect a man with no moral fiber, a man who will continue at age 74 to horn his wife without a prophylactic, to take a subservient, a minister in his cabinet, a junior member of his cabinet, and take his wife home in his wife's house, down the stairs, past 3 dogs, past a parrot, into a dungeon office, and put on the red couch as he drinks down and sucks down honey goat to it. That's the man you elect. And that's the man who tells you, no matter what evil another person or company or country or oppressor or tyrannical dictator does, he is going to cut deal once it have deal to cut. Great is the deal cutter. His name is Rowley. Good night.